Alison Brie is talking about that community reboot. I hope it's happening. She says the wheels are turning. With community stuff, I'm very optimistic, but also I'll believe it when I see it. She has some ideas on what they should do. I'm sort of like, let's do fan service. Don't try something that's so crazy. Let's get back to Greendale. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. She said that also love to have Donald Glover come back. It is perceived that Glover is too busy, but now that Atlanta's over, what's Glover doing? I feel like, what else are you doing, Donald Glover? Do Community. Allison said, let's carve out a single day, green screen. Could we send someone over where Donald is in the world and just get a shot of his face saying something? Meanwhile, Alison Brie is co-starring with Danny Pudi. They're in the upcoming romantic comedy Somebody I Used to Know. Allison said, it's the first time Danny and I have acted together since Community, and it was so fun to be back on set. Immediately, our antics from the past were right in the forefront, and a lot of them made it on screen. I think Community fans will be happy to see our characters together in that. She looked back when she was doing both Community and Mad Men, and I remember at the time watching Mad Men, I think it was, and I was like, wait, is that the same actress? And I was so confused, and she said, I would often say to people, you wouldn't recognize me on the other set. On the set of Mad Men, I was very quiet, very focused. It was this dramatic show, and also because of the nature of Trudy's storyline, most of the time was just me and Vincent Kartheiser. I was over on the quiet set with a single actor, and we were digging in. On the other hand, the Community set was like a children's playground. It was an explosion of noises and sounds, and we would just be talking and doing bits right up until action and then go into the scene. In between takes, we shot such long hours over there, and just to entertain ourselves, we were always making silly videos. And as that series went on, it really felt like we all developed our own language. I always kind of felt for guest stars who came in because we'd try to be very warm and inclusive, but at the same time, the jokes we were making were based on that bit that got cut from an episode in season 2. She enjoyed rewatching the show when it landed on Netflix in 2020 and said, and the jokes in my mind are an alt line that never even made it into the episode. So the fan experience of the show is quite different from our experience of making it and watching it. But yeah, we were like little kids. It was really fun. Speaking about shows coming back, how about Reboot, my new favorite thing? Paul Reiser spoke to Looper and said the premise of Reboot really appealed to me. I don't love reboots. I'm not a fan of reboots, even though Mad About You did come back and do one season. To me, things that are great should be left alone. Here was a show talking about why rebooting a silly sitcom is not a great idea, but it's not about the sitcom. It's about the making of it and the people and how they've changed 25 years, and the cute kid is not a cute kid anymore. I love that character. It's very subtly about some bigger things. It's about how we've changed and how much more we need to change. I play the guy who created the original show and wants to recreate it as it was. And they brought in a new younger writer who wants to make it more socially relevant and up to date. And I'm fighting it. It becomes, what's that tension? Shouldn't you leave something alone? Not necessarily. It's a generational thing. One of the fun areas they tackle is how comedy has changed. When creating a sitcom, you'd have discussions in the writer's room about what you can and cannot say, and the end result would get on the air. On our show, we get to film the scene where that discussion happens and the discussion is funny. He gave some dialogue here. Why can't I say Eskimo? And they go, that's not a term. It's like, since when? Is Eskimo bad? I'm not saying I hate Eskimos, so Eskimos no longer okay? Reiser says, that stuff is funny. You don't have to be in show business to watch this show, but for those who have done half-hour TV, it really rings true. It's really funny. I hope we get to do some more. If you're in a Paul Reiser mood, Mad About You, remember that? Well, they're talking about that over on the Shows We Watched podcast this week. From the Connecticut Patch, your home for comedy news, Sam Morrill was on the Joe Rogan Experience and talked about Sam's experience at the Bijou Theater in Bridgeport. Sam said, I did a gig there once, and I got chased off stage. Rogan said, there's no hope in Connecticut. It's not a real state. It's a highway between New York and Boston. Rogan also bashed Hartford as, quote, barely a city with a few insurance buildings. He has refused to do comedy sets in Connecticut for 15 years. Rogan said, Chappelle bombed there, and when I saw that, I said, oh, he's in Connecticut. That was in reference to a 2013 Hartford appearance where Dave stopped telling jokes mid-set and walked away from a hostile crowd. Rogan has talked about Connecticut in the past, apparently. He talks about the state's proximity to New York and Boston, calls the people in the center of the state weird, and once compared them with the Game of Thrones wildings. He's also not a fan of the cold weather or the casinos. Next to Connecticut is Rhode Island, and the Providence Journal talked to Eliza Schlesinger. How's that for a forced segue? Whew, awful. Eliza said, 2 things she'll never include in her act, which is about 10% spontaneous and dependent on the audience, are jokes about the Holocaust or the transgender community. I'm going to jump in there. That's a random pairing. I get that you don't want to do jokes about the Holocaust or the transgender community, but those are the two things that get listed. Just caught my eye. Eliza said, I don't see the point in that. I was asked, is this coming from a place of love or a dogpile on a marginalized group? Greg Warren sold Jif peanut butter for 10 years. So he has called his new tour the Creamy and Crunchy Tour. Greg Warren said, I'm a fierce loyalist. Peanut butter is a rich topic. Most Americans have an opinion. Am I taking on a controversial subject? Sure, but I believe I'm uniquely qualified for it. I think Procter & Gamble gave me a lot. I called on grocery managers. They usually had no desire to speak with me, so I had about 30 seconds to get my point across. Joke writing is somewhat similar. Just for Laughs, Toronto. I always want to say Montreal. I'm used to saying Just for Laughs, Montreal. Just for Laughs, Toronto. A fabulous festival. And let's see who's up there today. They're starting early at 11 a.m. with some bunch of podcasts, but we're here for the stand-up show, 7 o'clock. Woo, look at this lineup, and I'm loving this new timeline feature they have. Megan Statler at 7, Todd Barry, Lori Kilmartin, Craig Ferguson, 8 o'clock, Marito Lopez, Absolute Comedy, The Nubian Show at 8:30, Sophie Buttle and Ali Hassan at 9, Double Threat at 10 o'clock, and at 11, The Alt Show. Atsuko Atsaka has one of her shows, and Late Night Surprise. Okay, let's see here. Well, we've already seen Todd Barry on paper, right? And we've already seen Craig Ferguson on paper, so let's go see Megan Statler at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, let's pop into Absolute Comedy, which says the best stand-up comedy from across North America. That might be reaching a little hard. So, like, it's the best stand-up comedy from North America? Like, is Chappelle going to walk in with Gaffigan and Louis C.K.? Probably not. Well, let's go anyway. All right, 9 o'clock, we can catch Sophie Buttle. Only one show at 10, Double Threat, Juliana Rodriguez and Mo Ishmael. One of the articles I read the other day really talked up Juliana. She started when she was 15. Mo Ismail, his material draws from his experience as an Egyptian immigrant growing up in Canada, being a teacher, and various other life struggles. All right, that sounds like a good time. And then 11, Alt Show or Late Night Surprise. Let's do the Late Night Surprise. We can always catch a beverage. So that's today at JFL Toronto. Let's stay international. It's always good on the weekend to do the international stuff. They're gearing up for the Galway Comedy Festival. If you want to go, it's in Ireland, the end of October. 60 shows across 17 venues. Tommy Tiernan and Dylan Moran are the headliners this year. Festival director Kevin Healy says, yes, we have lots of big Irish names here. It's good to give Irish comedians the work and look after them. First, post-pandemic, UK comics are extremely busy in the last year doing gigs that were canceled and new ones added. We're delighted to have all the well-known Irish comedians. Kevin McAleer has experienced a resurgence in his career following his role in Derry Girls, and it's great to see a gem like him being uncovered again. We also have the likes of Colin Geddes, who would sell out the Belfast Arena all the time with a 5,000 capacity, and Emma Duran, who's taking off big time after gigs in Liberty Hall, and she's added Vicar Street. Here we are in Galway, cajoling them into tiny venues with 100 people. The festival opens at Leisureland with Dylan Moran, declared by French newspaper Le Monde as the greatest comedian living or dead. Wow. The Galway Comedy Festival, October 25th through the 31st. Don't think I'm not tempted to go, and I could probably write it off, but I am running the New York City Marathon November 6th, and a week of me hanging out at a comedy festival in Ireland a week before the marathon, not a good training plan at all. So I won't go, but I would love to go. Staying international from The Guardian, they ask, has extreme comedian Kim Noble finally gone too far? The Guardian writes, to interview comedians, you don't usually travel to Belgium to attend festivals of Flemish culture. When speaking to them, you're not usually distracted by a dead fox, prostrate on a table, intermittently swishing its animatronic tail. Well, this is Kim Noble we're talking about. Obsessive videographer of his own life, professional cleaner, and darling of Euro art houses. Kim says, I don't class myself as a comedian at all, but I still have this inbuilt thing that I need to make people laugh. But this show's very tame. The Guardian said, that'd be easy to credit had I not just watched a show in which Noble reclines naked in a bath full of maggots, tries to snog his mom, and attaches a Heath Robinson fox alarm to his swollen gonad. And yet, Lullaby for Scavengers is a strikingly beautiful hour, as Kim Noble struggles to live among humans, as well as some unloved members of the animal kingdom, foxes included, and seems to question, who's the real vermin here? Kim says, I'm a bit of an old white dinosaur, and I do blame my lack of opportunities now in those shifting sands, but sometimes it might be because this stuff isn't very good. As for the current show, I don't think it's as rude as its predecessors, but because expectation has shifted, it's caused a bit of a stir. Here in Belgium, it's more of a theater/experimental performance environment where they're used to people sticking things up their butts and being weird on stage. In the UK, who knows what's going to happen? Kim Noble, Lullaby for Scavengers, returns to the Soho Theatre in London in March. He'll be there from March 15th to April 8th if you want to plan ahead and say hi to King Charles while you're there. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows, and I'll see you tomorrow.